For he himself has said it, and it's clearly to his credit that he is an Englishman. He remains an Englishman. What's up, guys? It is IRGT85. Happy Sunday. Hope you liked my little singing about our Englishman friend. But of course, we got some video game news to talk about. So if this is your first time on the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Be sure to like and share the video as well. Without any further ado, let's talk about what's going on in the world of video games. And folks, it's official. It's finally official. Something we've been talking about for a couple weeks now on this channel, the Grand Theft Auto Trilogy. The Grand Theft Auto Trilogy is indeed a real thing. Rockstar actually announced it about a day or so ago, and I'm definitely really looking forward to this. This package of games will include Grand Theft Auto 3, Grand Theft Auto Vice City, and Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Now, according to the listing, because we really haven't gotten any sort of details about this game, they will feature across the board upgrades, including graphical improvements and modern gameplay enhancements, but they will retain the look and the feel of the original. So I'm kind of expecting this to be like an HD texture pack. You know, maybe they'll rework some textures or something like that. I just don't see like them doing a whole bunch of stuff to this game as far as, you know, expanding upon it. Obviously, we're talking about 3 different games here, but the cool thing is these are actually coming very soon. Like I said, I felt that they were going to come around the month of November, and they indeed are coming out in the month of November. So this is very exciting. It'll be releasing on the Nintendo Switch, the PlayStation systems, the Xbox, the PC as well, and sometime in the future will be the PC and the mobile versions. They're a little bit down the road, but I'm really excited for this, and I think this is actually a pretty big deal because when you think about it, no Grand Theft Auto game has ever been on a Nintendo home console. The closest thing we got was, of course, Grand Theft Auto Chinatown Wars on the Nintendo DS. Fantastic game. I love Chinatown Wars. I think it's a spectacular game. If you've never played it, it's definitely a game worth hunting down to play if you still have a DS or a 3DS. Just, you could do a lot of crazy stuff in that game, but this is very exciting. These 3 games are staples of my youth growing up. Like, even your friends who didn't like video games, like, you would go over to their house and they would have a PS2 and like a GTA game, and you know, I have very fond memories of doing illicit things with the homies back in the day while playing some of these games. But I'm very excited to see these games. I hope that they do you know, some nice graphical enhancements to the game. I think the controls are going to be the most important thing, making them feel a bit more modern. You know, they felt fine at the time, but there's definitely some refinement that they can do. It'll be interesting to see the pricing of this. Will this be a full $60 release? You are getting 3 games, and really I wouldn't have a problem with it. It does seem like this is only going to be a digital release though. Maybe down the line they'll do it physically. That seems sort of like a missed opportunity. I'm not quite sure why they're only doing it digitally, especially considering the fact that Grand Theft Auto 5 coming out on the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X is obviously quite a ways away still. We have to wait until March for that game to come out. So it's like, you know, what are you doing? Make some money this holiday season, put these out physically as well. But like I said, definitely very excited. Whenever they drop a trailer for this game, I will definitely be talking about it on the channel because I'm really interested to see what they have done with this game. But yes, we have confirmation. I was right all along. November, Grand Theft Auto Trilogy. And finally, we have some updates on the Nintendo Switch JoyCon situation that's very interesting that I want to talk about, that actually happened like hours after I got done filming that video the other night. But first, there's a very strange warning for the Nintendo Switch OLED. Now, I know what you're saying to yourself, well, RGT, have you gotten your Nintendo Switch OLED? It's Sunday, and no, I haven't. My information actually hasn't been updated either, so I don't know when it's coming, or really at this point, if it's coming, because this is just ridiculous. Go watch my video talking about my Walmart experience with the Nintendo Switch OLED to get all of the nitty-gritty details about it. But essentially, the Nintendo Switch OLED is obviously a different screen than what we saw with the Nintendo Switch model. The Switch, of course, has an LCD screen, and the Switch OLED has an OLED screen on it, hence the name Nintendo Switch OLED. But evidently, there is a very small film on this screen, and Nintendo doesn't want you to mess with it because they have explicitly said in the instructions for the Nintendo Switch OLED, giving you a big warning: do not peel off the anti-scattering adhesive film from the OLED screen of the console. Now, what's interesting about this this is Nintendo is actually selling a cover for the Nintendo Switch OLED screen, kind of like a screen protector to further protect the screen from it, but it has like a screen protector built in. And really, when you have an OLED screen, if you've ever had like a PlayStation Vita, or you're one of the lucky people who's gotten a Nintendo Switch OLED while I wait and sit here and suffer, you would know that the screen is very different in terms of feel when you touch the screen or even when you tap against it. So don't mess with that screen. Nintendo doesn't want you to mess with that screen. They might come to your house and take away your Nintendo Switch OLED if you mess with that screen, or I guess you could just break your Nintendo Switch OLED. I've seen some people online tear it apart and things of that nature. So if you're into stuff like that, you know, go check out those videos. You're not going to see shit like that on this channel though, because I can't take apart anything. And the second part of the story is the Joy-Con situation. Now, a couple days ago, I talked about on the channel that there was yet another big suit coming on for Nintendo with the Joy-Con situation because of the fact that, well, the OLED Joy-Cons aren't really that much different and there's still Joy-Con drift, which is definitely a real problem. It's something I've personally experienced at least on 2 or 3 sets of Joy-Cons. So it's something that's definitely a pain in the ass. Well, Nintendo actually did like a little thing about the Switch OLED right before it officially launched, and then actually talked about the Joy-Con situation in this sort of thing. So they said the following things about the Joy-Cons. I'm going to read it as fast as humanly possible because there's a lot of stuff to read. When the effects of our improvements were confirmed, we promptly incorporated them into the Joy-Con controllers that are included with the console, the Nintendo Switch Lite, and the ones that sold individually that were manufactured at that time. This involves the internal components of the Joy-Con, so you can't tell the improvements from the outside, but we use the new versions of the parts when we repair them. Also, similar continual improvements have been made to the Nintendo Switch Pro controller as well. And then they were asked, do you mean that basically wear is unavoidable as long as the parts are physically in contact? To which they said, yes. For example, car tires wear out as the car moves, as they are in constant friction with the ground to rotate. So with that same premise, we asked ourselves how we can improve durability. Not only that, but how we can improve operability and durability coexist. It's something we've been continuously tackling. The degree of wear depends on factors with a combination of materials and forms, so we continue to make improvements by researching which combinations are less likely to wear. We mentioned that the Joy-Con specifications hadn't changed in the sense that we don't add new features such as new buttons, but the analog sticks in the Joy-Cons included with the Nintendo Switch OLED model are the latest version with all the improvements. Needless to say, so are the analog sticks included in the Switch, Switch Lite, sold separately, Switch Joy-Con controllers, and the Switch Pro controller that are currently. Now, on one hand, I think that's an interesting statement because of the fact that, well, we know that there have been some minuscule differences with the Nintendo Switch as far as when people take apart the Joy-Cons. There was that whole little black box situation. There's like a little cushion in there or something that supposedly alleviates the Joy-Con drift problem. But since that has been discovered, which it was originally discovered quite a while ago, Joy-Con drift still happens. It looks like it's just the functionality and the combination of the way that Joy-Con are assembled and then the parts that they're being used. But, you know, it doesn't seem like it's alleviating the problem because Joy-Con drift still exists. People are still experiencing it, even with new sets of Joy-Cons, even with new technology such as the Nintendo Switch Lite. And I'm sure we're going to hear about Joy-Con drift with the Nintendo Switch OLED model. I think it's really gotten to a point of where Nintendo just doesn't want to do anything about it because maybe they can't. Maybe they would have to redesign the whole Joy-Con and use different analog sticks and things of that nature in order to make this a non-issue. But until then, it's going to continue to be an issue. I just don't understand why they aren't trying to make like a new Joy-Con. I guess that would sort of be admitting guilt to the situation. And of course, with all these lawsuits sort of pending, it's like, well, would that be a bad look if we made a new Joy-Con? But I mean, eventually you're going to make new hardware and things of that nature. So we could just package it with the new Joy-Con and be done with it. I'm still surprised that they did not change at least, you know, some of the visibility and the style of the Joy-Con to make things better with it with the Nintendo Switch OLED, because you're releasing new hardware. Nobody's going to question that sort of thing. But as we go on with this, it's going to be interesting to see. I'm very curious to see if a lot of Joy-Con drift starts popping up with the OLED models. If I end up ever getting my OLED model, I'm curious to see what this anti-scattering adhesive film looks like and how the Joy-Cons feel, even though I don't know. I don't know where it is. I don't know when it's coming. Alrighty, so that is going to do it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Be sure to let me know what you think of everything in the comment section down below. The GTA Trilogy, are you looking forward to it? Which system will you pick it up on? More than likely, I can see like the PlayStation and Xbox systems having like 4K visuals, but I mean, It's the old Grand Theft Auto games. I don't think anyone needs 4K visuals for that. And of course, the adhesive film and the Joy-Con situation. What are your thoughts on this? Do you think Nintendo will ever have to answer for making the Joy-Cons maybe a little bit shoddy? Or do you think they're just going to get away with it like many companies do? And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you are new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Be sure to like and share the video as well. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Later.